Hi folks, welcome to the video about analyzing frequency tables in our 119 class. All right, so this question says, a leading business magazine publishes data on small businesses, defined as businesses that have been publicly traded for at least a year, have a stock price of at least $5 per share, and have reported annual revenue between $5 million and $1 billion. This table shows the ages of the chief executive officers for the first 60 ranked small businesses. Okay. And so when we look at this, we see that we should have 60 people, 60 CEOs. And the data point that we've gathered is their age. Okay. And then we sort of clump them into categories. So there are 3 CEOs that are between 40 and 44 years old. But there's 16 CEOs between 55 to 59. And there's only 1 CEO who's between 70 and 74. Okay. So that's sort of the information we're given. And question A says, what is the frequency for CEO ages between 55 and 54 and 65? So the key word here is that it's between those ages. So we need really the CEOs who are 55 to 59 and 60 to 64, okay? And so the way we find that frequency, we take the 16 plus the 10, we add them together, and we get 16 plus 10. So we have a frequency of 26. So in other words, there are 26 CEOs who are between 54 and 65 years old. Okay. All right. So part B, what percent of CEOs are 65 years or older? Okay. So if we want to find the percentage of CEOs that are 65 and older, we know we have 7 of them, but 7 out of how many? Okay. And so I want to take this as a chance to sort of refresh our understanding on what a percentage means. All right. A percentage is nothing more than the part you want divided by the whole, like how many you have altogether, and then times 100%. Okay. So if I want to know the percentage of CEOs that are 65 years or older, I know that there's 7 of them, and I know there's 60 CEOs altogether. So 7 divided by 60 times 100 is going to give us about 11.67%. Okay. So that's one way to do it. We can add our frequencies together and then divide by the whole. Another way to think about it, let's go ahead and fill in this relative frequency column, because then we can actually use the relative frequency to help us confirm our answer for part B. Okay, so relative frequency just means to take your frequency, so in this case 3, and we divide it by the total. All right, so 3 divided by 60 gives us 0.05, okay? Or that's 5%. And we can keep going all the way down. So 11 divided by 60 is 0.1833, which is about 18.33%. 13 divided by 60 is 0.2167, which is about 21.67%. 16 divided by 60 equals 0.2667, which is 26.67%. 10 divided by 60 is 0.1667, which is 16.67%. 6 divided by 60 is 0.1, which is just 10%. And 1 over 60 is 0.0167, which is about 1.67%. Okay, So the relative frequency actually gives us those percentages. And so another way to answer part B, what percentage of CEOs are 65 years or older, we could just take these percentages and add them together. So 10 plus 1.67 will get us to that same 11.67. Okay. All right, moving on. What is the relative frequency of ages under 50? And so all we're going to do here is we're going to add the relative frequency of ages under 50. So we've got two rows for that, 0.05 and 0.1833. And so when we add those together, 0.05 plus 0.1833, we get a relative frequency of 0.2333. Okay, and again, I just got that from adding the relative frequency from 40 to 44, and then from 45 to 49. All right, part D, what is the cumulative relative frequency for CEOs younger than 55? Cumulative means I add things together. And so one way I could look at that is I take the first three rows, those are all CEOs younger than 55, and I add those together, okay? So let's see what that gets us. If I take 0.05 plus 0.1833 plus 0.2167, that gives me a cumulative relative frequency of 0.45. So cumulative just means I add them together, okay? But another way that we could find this is just to find all the cumulative relative frequencies as we go. That means that for the first one, you just take that first number, 0.05, but as you go down, you start adding them. So 0.05 plus 0.1833 gives us 0.2333. And now I add on the 0.2167, I get 0.45. And then to this, I'm going to add the next one, and I'll get 0.7167. And to this one, I'll add the next one, and I get 0.8834. And then I add the 0.1, and I get 0.9834. And one way we know we've done this correctly, at the end, we should get really, really close to 1. It's just that there's a lot of rounding going on along the way, so we might be off by a slight little bit. And I think in this case, we get 1.0001. Close enough, okay? All right, so the helpfulness of this is that if someone said, find the cumulative relative frequency for CEOs younger than 70, you've already done the work, right? You've already added all of them up together, and so this is your answer. Instead of sitting and adding all of them when they ask you, you sort of added them in advance, okay? All right, last question. Which graph shows the relative frequency and which graph shows the cumulative relative frequency? And so before we look at the graphs, let's kind of see what's happening here. So my relative frequency, the numbers sort of go up and then they go back down. But my cumulative relative frequency, all these numbers, they are increasing, right? 0.05, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We actually should get to 1 at the end, all right? So let's see, just by looking at these pictures, which one looks bigger and bigger and bigger until it gets to 1, and which one goes up and then down. All right, so I think we can agree that this one is the cumulative one. Because I can see at the end that I'm getting real close to 1. And then this one is just your regular relative frequency. We can see it goes up and then it goes down. Okay. All right, let me get that all on one screen for you so you can take that, a look at that whole problem. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll talk to you soon.